G'day folks, welcome back to the channel. Brian here. Right, we're going to step it up. We've gone through no age statements, other age statements, younger ones, and now we're going to kick on to the oldest Taketsurus that you could buy. And quickly I'll do the 25-year-old. Now this is one I didn't do any tasting notes. I tasted it. I was at a whiskey show in Japan, and I'll mention this more than once. I really don't want to just do tasting notes every time I drink a Japanese whiskey, seriously. And this one maybe was not one I would even bother doing a tasting note on. And it's the 25-year-old Taketsuru. It reminds me of a little bit different whiskies altogether. It reminds me of Hibiki 30 in the fact that when I tasted the Taketsuru 25-year-old, it just didn't blow me away. 25 years in oak, I couldn't even complain that it was over oaked. It was so mellow. It was so light. It was just so delicate. So, no notes, but I know where it places against all the other Taketsurus. And when I do the final version where I rate them all, you'll know where the 25-year-old stands. But yeah, it wasn't a grabber, and they're worth a fortune now. Do I think they're worth... I don't think back then they were worth what they were asking even then. Because now Japanese whiskey, when the 25-year-old came out, which was after the 35-year-old, they started to ask a bit more big money for them in the hundreds of dollars. But to me, it wasn't worth it straight away. So I never bought one. I couldn't see it. Even if I paid a quarter of the price they're asking now, I wasn't going to pay that because after tasting it wasn't worth it. So that's my thoughts on the 25-year-old. So does it get better or worse when you go up to the 35-year-old? The 25. If I like the 21, the age statements, that would be my favourite so far. From 12, 17, 21, it would be that would be the 21 would be my favourite. So, I'll get to it. I remember the first time I tasted this, it was at the Old Alliance, huge whiskey bar in Singapore back in the day. Tell you what. So let's crack on, because I wrote notes back then when I was doing this. And I had a bottle, and it's one of the few bottles that I regret not having right now. Guess I just gave the game away, but I'll tell you why. So nose, and I've been doing a few tasting notes by now, so I was a little bit better at the job, for want of a better word. Elegant, yet very expressive. Oh, and I'll tell you, I paid, and I balked for so long because I bought so many of these single casks, Japanese whiskies and whatnot for so long, for so little money compared to now, that I'm going, really? Like $500 US for this bottle of whiskey? I really, really, really balked at it. I got one for about that money, about $500, $550 US, something like that. Still wish I had it. Anyway, my notes. Step back, elegant yet very expressive. So I guess a lot of people think, when people talk about Japanese whiskies, they talk about elegant, nuanced, balanced. But this, when you nosed it, you could just sit there as one of those ones you could nose for an hour. Plush and exotic. Don't use exotic very often. Ripe stone fruits. Red berries. Cinnamon. Licorice. Sweet orange. Old leather chairs. Ginger. Tinned mango. And again, when I talk about tinned, it's normally because it's a little bit sweeter, a bit more sugared. Cantaloupe, which we call rock melon here. Old cognac, and a faint hint of tar. and I didn't get a lot of woodiness on the nose. Didn't get a lot of really heavy oak hit. You can tell this review's going on. Deserves it. On the palate, sweet red grapes and berries, vanilla, pipe tobacco. Again, when you start getting into pipe tobacco or sweet tobacco, leather, old leather, we're talking, you can feel the age. Cantaloupe or rock melon, as we call it in Australia. Strawberries, creme caramel, glazed orange slices, old cognac again, and a little salt. 35 years in oak barrels starts to make an impact, adding a drying element, but it certainly isn't much of a bother. So at 35, and I can tell you, there's some Japanese whiskies that got to 25 that I can tell you are so full of oak tannins, I struggled. But this one at 35 was manageable. It's full-bodied. And I remember this. If you ever tasted any of those old Bamors or Bowmores, if you want to call it that, from back in the 60s, this is what it reminded me of. Was it the Bamor Bicentennial? In fact, I tasted this Bamor, the 69 Bamor, with the co-owner of where I tasted this the first time at the Old Alliance, because he had one in his house. I may have a photo somewhere, and it reminded me of that. There was this sherry car. It was exotic tasting, really exotic fruits and everything else, but balanced. Finish was long, had a lovely balance between fruit, wood, spice, leather, and pipe tobacco. Some truly exotic elements add to a wonderful whiskey experience. Worth it just for the exquisite nose. And this is one of my highest rated Japanese whiskies. Not I care whether anyone disagrees or not. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. Can bang with the best, even as a pure malt, different distilleries brought together. I rated at 93 out of 100, and I don't step back from that, folks. Unbelievable. Lucky people that still have them. You may not get to taste it, but awesome, awesome stuff. And I've got the original picture of my particular bottle. Hopefully I'll just grab that and throw that up there for you. Yeah, just awesome stuff. So ratings, I guess you'll know that this is number one at the top of the tree. In fact, one of my very top 10 Japanese whiskies, and I'm creeping up towards 600. So again, Kampai guys, thanks for indulging me by watching this video. Take care, subscribe if you haven't. I don't really monetize channels. I got another one, I'm going to start another one, so that's all right, but subscribe so you can see the next videos. So hopefully I'll have a ton more content, which I do. Bye for now.